welcome to the One More Thing podcast. Today I'm joined with Pastor Larry Baucom. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
So we are in week, 9 now?
Yep,
of
week
practical prescription. And what was the prescription this week?
It's tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
Well, and I think that's something that all of us can relate to, just this idea of honesty. And I thought it was interesting that you started with the Noah story. There were so many different stories that you could have told, but you started with this one. So I kind of want to unpack that a little bit.
Well, it started in my mind basically with the Cain and Abel, to where Cain kills his brother, and then God says, "Hey, where's Abel?" And he said, "I don't know." So I think Cain is the first documented lie.
Right.
And as I went through that, I started going through the stories of those who were deceptive, and then I looked at Noah, who walked with the Lord, so he was really an honest guy. But when you read the story about, hey, the whole world, every inclination of every thought was evil, and you begin to go, so we begin to I look at that story and see how that morality and telling the truth and honesty are important parts.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting to hear how many biblical characters that we all know have a story of deception and lying. You told Jacob and Esau, Ananias and Sapphira, Simon Peter, obviously with even just denying Jesus and all of that. And I think you were very bold with your statement with Noah in the biblical story of like, this is not something that actually historically happened, but there's a deeper truth and deeper meaning to these stories.
Yeah. And someone asked me about that, said, well, how can these stories not be true if you're talking about truth? And I thought that was very interesting. And I basically was able to say, every story that has meaning does not have to be an actual, literally true story. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are many parables that Jesus tells us that really are not true stories, but they're stories with the truth.
Sure.
And I think that the first 11 chapters of Genesis is called Primordial History in the World of Scholarship. And it's really you got to look for what are the truths within these stories. Lots of stories. And we get so caught up in the ark, for example, that there's an ark built in Kentucky, which, yeah, honestly, it's a little annoying to me.
Sure.
I mean, my sister went there with her.
It's like Disneyland for Christmas
and I was
for
just
Christians.
Like, are you seriously going there? But the thing is, anytime you travel with a group of friends, many times it's fun, no matter what you do. But I find that to be a little bit right-wing for me. Mm-hmm. I think that they miss the truth. We want to see the boat. We want to see what could be. And although scientists tell us you couldn't hold every species of animals. And what about animals in other parts of the world? It's only the known world. There was a flood, and I mean, there's Babylonian epics of floods that happened during that time. So there's lots of things about these early allegorical, metaphorical, and mythical. Mm-hmm. And I'm careful when I say word mythical, because a myth is a great story that has a poignant truth.
Sure.
And so is a parable. Mm-hmm. So, but we get caught up in that stuff. But anyways, I landed there with Noah, and I began to see I probably won't go much beyond him. So I really centered the teaching about the story of Noah.
I loved it, and you tied it with the not perfectly when you ended. And just to quote Derek McConnell on this, you went boss man on this weekend. It was very good. So one of the things I thought that I loved is you tied this idea of when you have a society and their foundation of morality tends to be whatever the religion of this society is, and when they start to turn away from that morality, it tends to be the collapse of that society. So how does religion play a part in the morality of a society?
I think that's true. I think that every major society that has risen to superpower status, when they ultimately fall, it's because of a denigration in their moral values, regardless of their religiosity or whatever. Peter Berger is a sociologist who writes a book called The Sacred Canopy. That book, basically, the Sacred Canopy, it means it's a play on words, but there is this shelter over humanity, and it's religion. And within religion, he calls it a placeholder on the shelf. So in every society, if it has all the books of meaning and everything, there's a place on the shelf of the life of humanity for religion, because it helps us keep our structure. Without morality, we're not trustworthy. Even the Ten Commandments, when they came as really moral virtues. Honor your parents. Don't work all the time. Don't steal. Don't covet what someone else has. These are basic principles of life about living together in society. And honesty. Do not lie. Do not steal. I mean, those are important things. But I think they're consistent.
Yeah, and there are, and I don't agree with them, but there are a lot of, this is a common debate amongst atheists and deists, is would society reach its morality without any sort of religion? Does it require religion to become more moral?
That is debatable.
Sure.
And I think that in the past, it has shown us that when societies give up on a religious structure or moral values, they have a tendency to disintegrate. Now, could society live without any moral fiber? I think the answer is I don't think so. And as we develop as human beings, the more we develop, the more morality we get. And I think it's okay to say beyond every religious group, there's a certain amount of morality there.
Sure.
Whether you're, Eastern or Western or Buddhist or Hindu, whatever.
There are disciplines within
Sure.
any major religion.
But for us in this world where we live, Western world, we Christianity is the go-to, and that's what we follow, and that's what we teach. I'm a follower of the teachings of Jesus, not because of maybe because of a lot of different reasons, but because I grew up here, because I've studied it. I think because I grew up in an environment where that was true. I just want to make sure that the next generation still has something, and I'm concerned about it because of the decline in churches in America. And some people want to debate this, but I don't. These stats they're given by Pew Research and Barna. These are.
I don't know how you can argue with that. Yeah.
No, I mean these are the top companies in our country that do this, and they have no agenda. I mean, Barna is kind of a Christian company, so they really don't want to see it go down. If anything, they'd want to see the numbers go up. But at some point, we have to say, what's the problem? What's going on? And in my evaluation, I see some of the issues of the church can be corrected. But regardless of inside or outside the church, honesty, telling the truth. And if you can't go out on the street corner and scream at people, which I don't think is appropriate, about the truth, at least don't lie.
Sure.
Just don't misconstrue the truth. If I don't feel like I can speak out, then at least let me keep my mouth shut. If speaking out does damage, then let me be quiet.
Yeah, and I think even for a vast majority of people within that lane, they are speaking their truth. The truth that they've been fed, that they believe if you don't get saved, you're going to hell. So they're living their truth. But I think there is a redemptive path for Christianity, especially here in America. And I think people want that. People are searching for something to believe in. And you see a spirituality coming out it's more in line with Christianity sometimes than fundamental Christianity itself, And so I think there is hope. I think that the church just has to be willing to turn the light on, look through the keyhole, open the door. All of those cliches that you've mentioned before.
Or change.
Or just change. Or just recognize like this is a warped view of God. This is a warped view of religion, and let's open our eyes to other things.
But as I've been in Europe many times, and I see the empty buildings, please be quiet, and a lot of the Lutheran churches, I've been all through Germany and seen very few people go to the church. It's a state-run church. It's funded by the state. Everybody, you pay your taxes. You have a little bit of tax that goes to support the churches, which I think is a good idea. But they use them as they're more museums. But here's what also concerns me. I don't see it was fundamentalism in Europe that shut the church down. It was just simply the church doesn't mean anything. It does not provide meaning to my life. So my question is, what can we do to help provide meaning to the lives of those in our community? Because I think that's critical.
Yeah, and you asked that question, if we were gone tomorrow, what impact would that make on the community? And I think that's a fair evaluation every church should be asking themselves. If we shut our doors, what happens?
Yeah.
Not, people won't hear that they're going to go to hell if they don't hear our message. No, it's a true impact. People would miss out on the community and all of the organizations that we sponsor and help. And I think that's a really good litmus test for any sort of impact your community is making. And I think this idea of honesty and truth actually coincides really perfectly with personal responsibility, which is one of our core values. Mm-hmm. We are a community that strives to take personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. How are those two things related?
Oh, I think that's true. I think when and I like to use the word these days, the word inspire. How do we inspire people to take responsibility? How do we inspire them to be honest and truthful? And sometimes when I really look inside, say I really want to be truthful about myself, then I quit blaming, and I begin to take responsibility, and things begin to change in my life. And I think as a community, we say, well, we're going to take responsibility to try to inspire people to be better than they are. And I think we really, truly can make a difference in the world. I think that it's not about, whether you believe some doctrine, the free will versus the Armenian doctrines, or whether you're Catholic or Protestant, doesn't really matter. I think that at Suncoast, you can be all the above, but we want people to be inspired to have the Spirit of Christ live in them, to be honest about who they are, where they're going, take responsibility, and to love others.
I think that's perfectly said.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for one more thing? Is there anything that you kind of missed out on because of time restraints?
There's always other stories. I mean, I like, you talk about Ananias and Sapphira. That story is one that always troubles me. They sell their possessions, they bring it in, they're wealthy, obviously, and they give it to the early church, which met together, and everybody shared their resources, and they lied about it. And, I mean, it's pretty harsh, they both dropped dead from telling a lie. They said, a lie to the Holy Spirit, dropped dead. Now, I want to be very careful here, but those stories are a little bit troubling to me, because people who lie, they die. Mm-hmm. But I think that overall, if you look back, people who generally live their life as a lie and deception and dishonesty, I think it corrupts more than just those few. It corrupts the whole group.
Agreed.
So, but there's lots of things to say, but I'll save that for next week.
Awesome. Well, it was a great weekend. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.